And we are live. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I am one of your co-hosts, Blake Ruffino. Alongside me is my counterpart and co-host, Joe DeLeone. Good evening, good sir. How are you?
I'm doing very fantastic, Blake. I got to be honest with you. I've been having a little bit of a tough time today trying to figure out what the heck we're supposed to do about predicting the South Carolina-Missouri game. I have no idea what we're going to talk about today. This might be the most vague preview that we've ever done. For the obvious reason, the health of Lenore Sellers.
Here's the thing, and I have not really gone public with this. Okay. Because everybody wants to hop on the Vandy train. And I understand as to why. For 2-3 generations, outside of James Franklin's time at Vandy, Vandy has been irrelevant in football. In baseball, it's been a different story, but in football, they've been somewhat irrelevant, and we all know that. And people always want the underdog to win. It's why the Alabama game last year was so massive. Okay. Are you kidding me? You have people putting them in the top 10 in the AP poll. The top 10. Do you really want to come in here and try to convince me that South Carolina is just a horrible team after they're arguably the best player in the country? Maybe. We don't know.
Be conservative. Top 10 player in the country.
I'll even be more conservative. Top 20. I mean, like, what are we doing? By the way, just as a side note, just to understand and tell people who don't watch the games, I had a conversation this week again with an AP poll voter. He had no idea what happened between Vandy and Virginia Tech. I asked specific questions about Vandy and Virginia Tech. Had no idea that Kyron Jones, doesn't probably even know who Kyron Jones is, ran all over them in the first half. You already got me going.
This was a conversation that we didn't have, and this is because we didn't have time to react to the game. We had an awful lot of Vandy supporters that were angry with our prediction and telling us that we don't know, the typical deal. I didn't write this down in my notes, but in my pre-show reading when I was gathering information, I don't have the exact numbers, but one of the articles I was reading pointed out that when Lenore Sellers was in at the beginning of the game, and I know that Vanderbilt was still holding a lead when he was playing, when he was in the game, up until the point where he came out with the concussion, their explosive play rate fell off of a cliff. They couldn't move the ball. And it was depicted, obviously, in the way that we watched. I didn't even know that Luke Doty was still playing college football. I had no idea that kid was still playing college football. They couldn't do anything. There is not a better example of a team that needs their star player. So I think that it's a little bit hyperbolic to think that Vanderbilt is this elite up-and-coming team. They're a fun team to talk about, but this is what's made me want to slam my head into a wall talking about Vanderbilt is that they're getting this insane hype that they're better than that, than just the fun team that'll be on the back end of the top 25.
I'm not going to call this podcast out, but I did see a clip from a very well-known podcast this week that they post on Twitter. They think that they are an SEC champion contender now.
For the love of God.
Yeah. And it's a big podcast.
Okay, so wait, here's the sentiment though. Vandy is legit not an easy out anymore. If that is the angle, I'm fine with it. I'm fine with that. I'm fine with saying that they're not the walkover easy out.
Yeah,
totally
who's saying
cool with that?
Well, no one's saying that.
Bro, right.
They're not saying that they're an easy out. They're not an easy out. They're a good team. But at the same time, you can't take out Lenore Sellers and act like the impact of that game is not massively affected. I mean, with all due respect, we saw a Heisman Trophy winner literally last year and the year before that go out of a game and their side of the football could not score. Travis Hunter and Jane Daniels went out of a game against a ranked opponent, and their teams literally did not score a touchdown after that.
I
don't know what else to say. Now, they did beat them 31-7, and I get that. But Luke Doty's not a good player.
I think that those who understand how good Sellers is recognize what came out of this game. And let's look at the comparison that Sellers has garnered. The one player that he gets compared to all the time is Cam Newton. He is the one player, one of the few players that deserves to get compared to Cam Newton. And the biggest reason why is the fact that Cam Newton carried a team that had no business getting to a national championship. When you don't have Cam Newton, your team's not as good. He did the same thing with the Carolina Panthers early on in his career as well. He carried teams that were average to below average to solid records. And we've seen how bad that they've been since his career ended. I think that we talk about here with Sellers, the guy is supremely physically gifted. He elevates everybody around him. And the offensive line that they have is below average. So when you don't have said player in and you've got Luke freaking Doty, of course.
Who was a tight end last year? He was a tight end.
Move Doty to tight end? Did they really?
He was a tight end. Yeah, remember Doty caught a massive pass versus I want to say it was Clemson, and then they moved him back.
Oh yeah, he's listed as an athlete.
He was he caught a.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, he had a massive catch, if I'm not mistaken, against Clemson to win them the football game. It was like I remember it being down the right sideline, maybe it was Clemson. I'm very fuzzy on that, but I remember there being a game last year where he had a couple of massive catches. Brother, they put a tight end at quarterback.
I didn't even realize that. I kind of wonder, by the way, why they are not giving Noland a chance. Yeah, I don't know what the deal is there.
Great question. It's a very good question. I do not know. I do not know. But obviously, we're going to talk about that South Carolina Missouri game. Yeah. But here's the truth: what is Lenore Sellers' status, and can he rebound through a concussion? Which, Joe, if I got to be honest with you, if I had to make a pick on this game, which we'll talk about, you got to lean Mizzou in a lot of ways because of this. It being at home, Lenore Sellers concussion, but anything can happen, but we'll talk about that game tonight. We'll give you our top 12 teams and our power rankings as well, and Joe will give you our week 4 picks here. But before we get moving, everybody do us a favor, hit the like and share. Share to all those groups if you're on Facebook and to all those social media pages. You're watching us, listening to us on YouTube. Like, subscribe, notification bell. Joe coming up very closely on that 20,000 subs. Do us a favor if you haven't subbed already. Hit that subscription button for us. We greatly do appreciate that. Wherever you listen to podcasts, rate, review, and subscribe. And every episode is brought to you by our good friends over at FanDuel. Go over to FanDuel today, sign up, and place those bets if you have that discretionary income. Any questions, go over to FanDuel.com/RG for more. Joe, you ready to get to our power rankings here?
Oh, I am born ready to get to this.
All right. So, Joe, what are your top 12 power rankings as of week 4?
Spot the spelling errors this week. Ohio State 1, Oregon 2, Miami 3, Georgia 4, LSU 5, Penn State 6, Florida State 7, Tennessee 8, Texas 9, which I don't feel great about before anyone starts yelling at me, Illinois 10, Oklahoma 11, and Alabama 12.
My top 12 as it's listed: Ohio State at 1, Oregon at 2, Georgia 3, LSU 4, Miami 5, Penn State at 6, Florida State 7, Oklahoma at number 8, Texas A&M at number 9, Tennessee at 10, Alabama 11, and Utah at number 12. Good sir, where would you like to start off today?
Why don't we start off maybe without yelling at each other just yet? What can we talk about Georgia and Miami's orientation and the differences that we have between one another? Can we talk about that?
Yeah, Georgia went on the road and beat a top opponent. Miami's been at home every single week. I mean, this is where I feel like that we get into the top 5 early in the season and we start splitting hairs a little bit. The reason,
well, I think we need to. I don't think there's anything wrong with splitting hairs. Let's
split the hairs. I saw Gunnar Stockton make elite throws that last year Carson Beck threw picks on. I'm not saying Notre Dame's not good. I'm not saying South Florida's not good. I'm not saying Miami's not good. Clearly, I have him in my top 5. This kid, as a first-time starter on the road in a more hostile environment than Miami will play in this season, in his first SEC road start, he made the throws that he needed to make. Why would I assume that, number one, that defense will get worse, and then number 2, why, like, my mind goes to that. I just think Gunnar Stockton's going to continue to get better. Like, that's where I sit with Georgia. Is Joe, I don't worry about their secondary and what Tennessee did, because I think Tennessee's a good team. And I'm not saying Miami has not been tested, and they've blown everybody out and they physically dominated everybody. This happened on the road with a first-time starting quarterback who's only going to continue to get better here. That if you're asking me to compare Georgia and Miami, that would be my reasoning.
I don't disagree with that logic. And as everybody who listens to the show and listened to the Georgia segment that we had, I'm very high on Georgia. I think Georgia wins the SEC at the current moment. I think that as we're entering week 4, we don't have tremendous context, but we have some evidence to have these conversations. And Blake, I just think that we have to value the fact that Miami up until this point has been the most balanced team in college football.
Fair.
They have every single area. Their run defense. I actually, as I'm saying this, I'm kind of thinking to myself, maybe I should have. They have their run defense, their pass defense, their rushing offense, their passing offense are all at the same level. I think that they're all in the top 10 units in the country, all of those individual position groups. The big boost for them is the improvement to their secondary, and we've talked about this at length, how Heatherman has activated those 4 new transfers to play at such a high level. While I think that Georgia is going to have time to work through some of the issues that they had and some of the big plays that they gave up to Brazel, at the current moment, we have to acknowledge that Miami's secondary has performed better than Georgia's has. And I know Georgia's been challenged more, but this isn't a question of ranking teams based on who's been challenged more.
It literally would be what we said last week about Notre Dame then. So like if you would have Notre Dame in your top 12, the reason you would consistently have them in the top 15 would be because, look, they're 0-2, but they've been challenged by really good teams. I get what you're saying. I have a track record of Kirby Smart having situations like this, Bryce Young, where an early young secondary full of 5 stars that in their first road environment, they get blown out. Now, they might either win or lose the game, and it's still close. Then I have them at the end of the season beating that same team in a national title, and Bryce Young can barely throw the football. So I understand what you're saying, and I don't disagree. I also just don't think Miami, for what it's worth, in a vertical passing attack has been given the opportunity to show that they can do that versus what Georgia had to go through. Joe, they've been at home the entire month. And I get it, but the most impressive win to me to date is Georgia going on the road in Tennessee, in Neyland, and getting that win. And here's the thing. Look, Georgia's going to get tested again in 2 weeks. Well, in less than 2 weeks. They got Alabama coming into town. And if they have some of the same issues, then we have to bring it up. But if they win that game, if they win the game, both of us at the current moment, at least I do, have Tennessee and Alabama in the top 12. So that would be 2 top 12 wins. And I get the USF argument. I get all of that. And again, this is what's going to happen during this segment, by the way. I'm going to get labeled a Miami hater. But I'm
going to get labeled a Georgia hater, and that's why people are watching this segment.
I cannot get past that. I have a track record of what Kirby does. And if you're going to give me still 5 stars and you're going to give me a lot of first-time starters who went on the road and got a big win, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt.
Okay, I understand that, and I think that having the level-setting conversation early on and throughout these segments when we do them this season is important to do. I think you and I value our power rankings differently, and we look at things differently.
We do.
We don't have, as I just said, we don't have enough teams that have played challenging games. Of the 12 teams that we've
keep slipping in our power rankings.
Well, and we have reason for that, which maybe we'll talk about today. I just went on State of State, Tom Hannafin's Penn State show, which is a good conversation. Check that out on Friday. And we talked a little bit about how, the national perception is that Penn State's struggling and they're sliding. It's just because they haven't played anybody. And once they play Oregon, we'll have that context. But I try to not compare the challenges and the quality of wins. And I try to focus a lot on what's been given to me. I don't want to get overhyped on a team that hasn't played anyone. The only way that I'm going to do that is if you're like Oregon and you're completely smacking the shit out of whoever you're playing. But when we've got two teams that have faced tough opponents, and you've got Miami, who's also been challenged by South Florida, who was number 12 in your rankings last week, and they stepped up to the challenge so much so that they dominated South Florida, I think it has to be recognized. In all of their victories so far, and in the two hard games that they've – okay, I won't classify South Florida as a hard game, but hard against Notre Dame and could have been caught sleeping if you weren't paying attention game in South Florida. They dominated South Florida, and they were able to win out against Notre Dame because they played balanced football. And to me, Blake, balance is important. I got to be honest, to the Miami fans that are going to be commenting on this, I actually am considering saying all of this, as you pointed out, maybe they should be the number one team in the country on my power ranking.
Then do it.
I think I'm going to do it next week, depending on what happens at the Florida game. If they win by 2 scores, I'm putting them at number one, man. I'm not saying that facetiously. I say that with no joking tone.
Because of a common opponent, if they beat them obviously more than LSU, they go above LSU. But I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet. I just think that I'm giving George. I think Gunnar Stockton and that offense is only going to continue to get better. And if they can score 40 points on the road and play a B game and win, I'm going to take them for it. All right, where do you want to go next here?
This conversation, I think, is going to be really quick. So you put Utah at 12. I do not have a Big 12 team on my board. I just want to point this out for anyone who might get bothered with me. So I don't know if you know this. Utah and Texas Tech have played the two weakest schedules, two of the weaker schedules in college football. I think Texas Tech is the weakest, and I believe Utah is like 122nd or something like that. I want to see Texas Tech and Utah play one another. I don't think it's invalid for
to play this weekend.
Right. I don't think it's invalid for you putting him in there. This isn't me calling you out. This is more of just a clarification because, like, how are we supposed to evaluate any of these Big 12 teams?
How are you supposed to evaluate Penn State? Right now,
wait. I know what this Penn State team is because most of the returning cast came back from last year.
Okay, why can't they score touchdowns in the red zone against no name opponents?
Well, because why they're at 6 and not a number 1.
Okay, well then, I mean, just because that's the same thing going on with Utah, Joe. We have Indiana in the top 15 in the country in the AP poll, and they play
the AP poll though.
Okay,
our ranking. We do our ranking for a reason.
You are still very high on Indiana. Are you not?
We're not talking about Indiana. We're not talking about Indiana.
Okay, can you just amuse me for just 2 seconds?
What?
Okay,
sure. Yes, I.
You're too early in the season. I've seen them dominate everybody. I mean, they dominated everybody. And to be honest with you, on a neutral field, because the way that they can run the football and Alabama being 110th in the country in rushing right now at the current moment, Joe, I got to be real with you. I'm picking Bama to win that game, but I'm not far off. So I got to be real with you. Bama played ULM that might not win a game. They might not win a game. We have Bama there. So if we can't logo watch and say, okay, well, some of these teams are dominating these lower opponents, but you hate the University of Utah. Just say it.
No. So stop. That's my whole point. Wait, this is my whole point while I'm trying to cut you off. That's not what I'm saying. All I am saying is I have legitimately, I know I love to do this. I have Utah, Texas Tech as 13A, 13B. I want to see them play each other. And then the winner is going to go in my top 12. Simple.
Okay.
I think that's a simple thought.
Name another team you would take over Utah right now that was in yours. Would you let me ask you this. Here's a good end point. Would you take Utah over Texas right now?
No.
Why?
I'm higher on Texas than everybody is, which hence the fact that I have them at 9 and you didn't even put them in your top 12.
There's no way I'm taking Texas and putting them in the top 12. This team is not a top 12 team in the country. They are not. If they cannot get more consistent play against UTEP, you can't convince me that this Kyle Whittingham defense is not going to put Arch Manning in a blender. They're going to put him in a blender. So when I'm looking at some of these Utah, like some of these teams, and like you having Texas, I completely disagree with you on Texas. Joe, there was a point in time that he was 4 of 14 and threw an interception in the red zone. Like, I don't think that they can move the ball offensively. Still might have the best defense in the country, but I'm going to tell you right now, Texas and Utah line up in a neutral field tomorrow. I'm taking Utah.
No, I don't agree with that because Arch Manning isn't the University of Texas. He is the quarterback for the University of Texas. I get that the kid is struggling and that he is having problems, and I'm going to be an apologist for him, but that is not my point here. Even a bad Arch Manning with that defense will beat Utah. That defense, Blake, deserves the respect of saying, as you just said there, they are a top 3 defense in college football. That is one of the best
defense in college football, but that doesn't mean that he's not throwing interceptions and looking horrible against UTEP.
Okay. But Blake, we're talking about Arch, who has obviously been struggling, but he is not so awful to the degree that he completely takes them out of a game and costs them the game because
they had one score for 2.5 quarters against UTEP.
We're making an assessment against. I just talked about the importance of playing group of 5 teams and all of these things. It doesn't mean anything.
The last time that I saw him play, they were in a 1-score game with UTEP.
I am not saying that he is playing well. He's been bad. He's been awful. He's been really, really bad. But we've seen worse teams with better defenses that have survived games.
We have not. Name a word. Name them. Name them.
Iowa has had no offense in multiple instances and have survived with elite defensive play.
Name the time that Iowa's been in the top 12 in the last 5 years.
They've got in the last 10 years. They've gotten to multiple Big Ten championships with that approach.
When you did away with the divisions, okay, when you did away with them, and they didn't have an easy path to the Big 12 or Big 10 title game, and shit got harder for them, they started getting their shit kicked in.
Blake, I remember a Nate Stanley Iowa team that had one of the best defenses in the country, and Nate Stanley was awful. He was terrible. He was impossible to watch. Arch is better than Nate Stanley.
Sounds good.
Better receivers.
Sounds good. I understand that. But right now, and when you can't separate from UTEP, what are you?
We can't just lean on the fact that they had a bad showing and they're trying to figure out their identity. It is week 3. One thing has remained constant. Wait. I know that they've had a bad showing every single week. Okay. But let me finish what I'm trying to say here. The constant that has remained the same is that their defense is still extremely gifted and extremely talented and extremely dominant. And they have a supporting cast of quality running backs, a quality offensive line, quality receivers that Arch could improve as the season goes on. But at the very least, the team with the best defense or a top 3 defense in the country deserves to be recognized as a top 12.
Okay. Answer me this question. On a neutral field today, are you taking Oklahoma or Texas?
This is why I have it this way, and this was something I grappled with. I think Texas is still going to beat Oklahoma.
Okay. Would you take them over Alabama? So why would you take?
No, I think I would. I think I would still take Texas over Alabama. I think that I would.
I'm not.
Blake, I think you're discounting how good Texas is.
I literally.
And that is my problem with the way that everyone's bailed on them
in the country. However, when your quarterback continues to make blatantly open mistakes and you cannot score, Joe, I fear that he is going to make catastrophic issues until he shows me that he can be more consistent.
This is an example that was probably going to bother you, and I don't mean to do it. Garrett Nussmeier was great in week 1, but over the last 2 weeks, he has really struggled. And against Florida, He had a really tough game. Everybody in the country knows this.
He's still sitting around 70% completion.
I am not comparing Nuss to Arch. That's not what I'm doing. Let me finish what I'm saying here. That is an example of a victory in which a team's defense won and carried the team despite their quarterback not playing up to what he needed.
He's hurt.
I'm not. This isn't me shitting on Nuss. I am just trying to point out the importance of defensive play. All I'm trying to say is that elite defenses are able to carry more weight in a victory than I think you're giving them credit for.
I'm not, and Joe, what happens if you can't? God forbid an offense like A&M is able to come in there and hit some explosive plays and you can't get to 21 points. There's going to be a week and multiple weeks that defenses are off. Joe, I've seen some of the greatest defenses ever assembled at the school that I cover, and they give up more than 21 points. I mean, like, it's going to happen. So he's going to lose them games. And if you're telling me that they can't get first downs on some of these teams, that defense is going to get wear down. And just because it happened against Ohio State in week 1 where they're going through their own situations and struggles offensively, I can't do it. I cannot do it. All right.
We're going to argue this for an hour if we keep going back and forth. What's one problem that you have with mine? Outside of Texas.
I basically just mentioned it. I mean, that was really the only problem that I had. But to put yours back up, I guess you could say, I mean,
we talked something you want to talk about, something you want to cover.
I mean, here's the thing. We haven't talked about Penn State at all this year. Can we talk about Penn State?
Yeah, they've got a bye this week, so it takes away another data point because they're not playing anyone.
Okay,
we're not going to know who they are until they play Oregon. I got to be honest.
All right, well then that's fine. I mean, Florida State was on a bye week. You want to get to A&M because they're risers on both of ours, and they're here. I mean, we might.
Wait, did I put A&M on mine?
I do not believe that you did.
No, I did not. Blake, I have to call this out. I don't understand. I think A&M's a good football team. I think that they're in that 13, 14, 15 spot. Perfectly fine. I think that there's a chance that their defense gets fixed and they can go to a college football playoff. But like at the current moment through 3 weeks, I can't bet on that team. Notre Dame has been one of the most just problem-filled offenses over the past couple of years. They let a redshirt freshman quarterback in his second start throw all over him, and they got ran all over. They couldn't stop anything. The only reason why they won that game, which we haven't talked about this, and I don't care if anyone gets pissed at me.
Freshman?
No, CJ Carr.
Oh, okay.
The only reason why they win that game, Blake, is because of a hold and because of a botched extra point. If Buckner comes down with that extra point, we're talking about a completely different game. We don't even know. There's a chance we'd be talking about Notre Dame right now.
I'm sorry, you didn't lose the game off of a botched extra point.
Wait, hold on. We're not talking about the game, and we're not talking about Notre Dame. We're talking about what I just said there. Do you trust A&M's defense?
Do I trust them? But here's the thing. We both have Alabama, and they're 110th in the country in rushing. Do you trust them?
I think that's a that's a very specific thing. Alabama's inability to run the ball. We're talking about their whole defense can't stop anything.
No, you can pick holes in every single one of these teams.
That's a big hole. Not having a defense is a pretty big hole, Blake.
Not being able to run the football is a massive hole too. And when you're 110th, and by the way, you can't run on ULM, and you have the ball, by the way, for 40 minutes of time of possession against Wisconsin, and you can't run the football. I'm sorry, that's a massive hole. Ty Simpson's not going to be able to throw you to wins either. I mean, he's going to have to need assistance. He is a first-time starting quarterback that needs a run game. You can legitimately look at these teams and poke holes in all of them. Okay,
but I get that. But Marcel Reed can't throw A&M out of every victory either.
No, but Joe, when we're you literally have Texas above them. Okay, and it's the opposite. Okay, I saw really good corners in Notre Dame last week get exposed, whether it's the DC or the corners. Some of those you don't want to admit, Joe, some of those are man-to-man coverage situations, and they got their ass crispier than a Popeye's chicken. Okay, I'm just being real with you. Some of those
are running mostly zone. Those
in the second half. I'm not giving you the first half when they're want me to screenshot it.
The Craver.
Can I talk?
Well, what you're saying is wrong, though.
I will literally clip it in the beginning.
They benched the kid who messed up in that man situation that you're talking about.
It doesn't matter. Do they have really good corners or do they have really good DBs? Yes or no? Zone or man doesn't matter. They got burnt to a crisp. They have been bad
for 2 weeks.
They haven't been bad for 2 weeks. They gave up 24 points against Miami. That's not a bad defensive performance.
Yes, it is.
Joe, giving up 24 points is not a bad performance when your offense can't get first downs.
The explosive plays that they gave up against Miami was something that they had not done under Mark.
And you did it, and you literally did it against A&M. You can't look through 3 weeks and look at that wide receiver core for A&M and say, look, you might beat them and their defense might suck, but you better go in there scoring 35 or you're going to get your ass beat.
That's fine, and I don't disagree with that. I'm not here arguing that their offense isn't talented.
You're literally taking Texas.
I think that Texas's defense is better than A&M's offense. I think that by the end of the season, we're going to be talking about Texas
A&M
very
can
differently.
Stop Arch Manning if UTEP can. So you can all of this.
But it's a little different when we're talking about an entire defense can't stop anything.
You mean to tell
one
me
issue.
Elko and A&M can't stop Texas, but UTEP can.
Blake,
I'm asking a question, a yes or no question.
We both know and have followed this sport and have played in this sport to know that, yes, those bad performances are concerning, does not automatically mean that Arch struggles in those situations against SEC opponents.
It doesn't mean that
Stockton was shit for the first 2 weeks against no-name opponents, and then he stepped up.
He wasn't. He completed 70% of his passes. No, he wasn't shit. Stockton was incredibly timid and non-aggressive, and everybody in the national media was saying that he was going to stink it up against Tennessee, and he lit it up. And if you listen to the preview from last week, you heard Blake Ruffino say, yeah, you're not going to be explosive when you keep throwing screens and you keep throwing slants. And it's exactly what they did the first 2 weeks. Joe, they ran the ball 25 times in the fourth quarter.
I am not trying to defend Arch, and I'm not trying to say that he's going to suddenly – I am not going to just say that he re-enters the Heisman conversation by the end of the year. That's not what I'm saying. I think that as the kid is still playing, he gets serviceable enough with all the bad quarterback play that we have in this freaking sport that defense and that run game will be able to carry this team. They got plenty of time to figure it out. They got Sam Houston coming up.
Then A&M beat a very flawed and probably 7-5 Notre Dame team.
Notre Dame's not 7-5.
But they're not any good. A&M's not good.
I didn't say that they're not good, though.
Notre Dame got
you're reframing
by below tier average SEC.
You're reframing what I'm saying, Blake. You're completely reframing.
A&M won't finish in the top 10 in the SEC, and Notre Dame got beat by them.
Now you're just trying to make me upset.
For Arkansas. By the way, hold on. I do mean this. Notre Dame's going to beat Arkansas. Hold on. Listen to me. You better be ready for Taylor Green. Okay.
I'm not worried about Taylor Green.
I'm going to keep saying it, and I'm going to keep saying it, and I'm going to keep saying it. Please, I warned you about A&M.
Taylor Green is one of the most overhyped players in college football. He's fun, man. He's real fun. He's a real fun player. I'm not trying to belittle him and say that he's bad or anything, but he is not as good as he is a tall tale. He is one of these guys that everybody talks about how electric he is, and then he shows up and you're
going to score 90 on him. You're not going to you can contain him. You will not stop him. Watch.
All right.
All right. I warned you about Craver. Oh, we're going to play man-to-man.
I will stop it. On this show, I acknowledged that Craver and Concepcion presented a difficult matchup for Notre Dame secondary. It was the biggest talking point that we had during that segment, that I pointed out that I was worried that Notre Dame wasn't going to be able to do it. And lo and behold, they weren't able to do it.
So what does it say about Notre Dame that they can't be the top 8 SEC team?
Notre Dame isn't even in our top 12. Stop bringing them up. Let's get to the damn Missouri versus South Carolina preview. You're such a problematic individual. Bad friend. You're a bad friend.
I mean, LSU is going to lose this year, and you're going to let me have it. And you're going to come in here and say,
I'm not.
You're going to come in here and say, Brian Kelly again lost a big-time game.
No. I'm not going to do that. I'm only going to do that if they get to like 9-3. I know that they're not.
I still think there's a path LSU does go 9-3 for what it's worth.
I'll only shit on them if they don't get to the playoff. That's my point.
I just want 1 year where I can rub it in your face just once. All right. Joe, South Carolina versus Missouri this weekend. Obviously, South Carolina coming off the loss to Vanderbilt. You look at Missouri, they've been really good through the first couple of weeks here. Bo Prabula has really stood up and stood out here. When you look at the University of Missouri versus South Carolina, your thoughts are what?
Blake, I got to be honest, and I said this at the very beginning of the show. Predicting this game is very complicated because statistically, in a lot of the metrics that I like to look at when we're predicting these games, these numbers are very skewed. Specifically for South Carolina, they're not talking about Missouri, it is abnormally skewed because they had an awful half of football against Vanderbilt when Luke Doty stepped in and Lenore Sellers went out. It makes it look like they were so bad. It made this offense look like it's one of the worst in the country. And we both know that that is not the case. They're 112th in havoc rate allowed. They're 83rd in EPA per dropback. They're 114th in EPA per rush. We both know that they're not that bad. But we got to figure out, is Sellers playing? It sounds as if everybody's quite optimistic at the current moment. Eli Drinkwitz talked about how they're preparing for him. It was reported today, and I sent to you, I believe it was Stamel who reported that Sellers is playing. Before we dig into Missouri, Blake, I think we just need to emphasize here, the readiness for Sellers is the biggest turning point, because if he's on the field, as we saw last year, he can carry this team to a win against Missouri. And just to throw this in there, Shane Beamer is 13-6 against the spread coming off a loss. And the spread for this game is massive. So I think that South Carolina is going to keep this game close at the very, very least.
What does FanDuel have it as?
I will pull that up and tell you. Oh, I think it was 11.5, but that might have moved since the news came out about Sellers.
Well, look, so you talked about in the beginning of the show, you mentioned it here, and as you pull that number up on FanDuel, I was trying to pull it
9.5.
All right,
9.5.
So it was 11.5, and now it's 9.5 is what you're saying, correct?
Yep.
All right. So let's get it to the inevitable, and I thought you illustrated it perfectly there about Sellers. What can he do coming off of a concussion in a week? And that will be the ultimate determination. Now, if he doesn't play or if he's still off, Missouri's going to roll here. Prabula has been, for what it's worth, probably one of, if not, you could probably make the argument just through 3 weeks off of play, one of the better quarterbacks in the SEC. Joe, my question is not, look, because I feel like Sellers is going to play, and I'm just going to assume, I have no idea if I will or if we won't, if he's going to play to the level of what Lenore Sellers can play to. I'm going to hypothetically act like that maybe he gets somewhere around there. Okay. The question that I start revolving myself around is, can South Carolina slow down this Missouri rushing attack with Hardy, Prabula, and Roberts? Because they are by far one of the most fun teams to watch offensively. They have done it such an elite job, and I don't like throwing that word out lightly. Drinkwitz and company have done an elite job of identifying backs in the portal and getting them. Can they slow it down? Because you did not slow down what Vandy did, and I understand the situations that you were in. I think that for me, I look at Missouri and say to myself, I think that they can outlast South Carolina. I think it's close through 3 quarters, but I do feel like Missouri, because of the rushing attack, could separate here. Now, the only thing in the back of my mind is clearly what is Lenore Sellers? Because if we talk about South Carolina at any given moment, at any given time during the season. Lenore Sellers, I don't want to say by himself can beat anybody, but we've seen him literally lead a charge against Bama, literally lead a charge against really good teams a season ago. He's got a bad offensive line. And, Joe, I got to be real with you. Outside of Nick Harbor, I don't think their wide receiver room is giving him really a lot of help. He's doing a lot of things by himself. I feel like I'm getting a more complete team. And I think that for what it's worth, the best front seven that they have seen to date is this Missouri front seven. They are really good, man, and they are really aggressive. I've seen both edge guys run down Jalen Daniels in a game played this year. The athleticism that they have at edge is really good. Is the book out on Lenoris on how to get to him? I don't know. But I really lean because of that rushing attack and what that front seven can do for Missouri and how they can attack him coming off of this injury. I'm a little skeptical about what Sellers may be. If he's Lenore Sellers, the guy that we've seen, all right, then we got a ball game. If he's not, I think that Missouri can really separate themselves here.
The thing with Sellers, to just wrap up this point, he's coming back to practice at midway through the week. It's a little bit of a catch-22 with the injury that he had. He had a concussion. It's not the type of injury where it's like a nagging thing it's not a hamstring, it's not a shoulder, it's not a knee injury. It is a head injury. So once you're usually cleared and you're past that, you're ready to go. But when you have a concussion, you still have concussion symptoms, the ability to concentrate and to do game prep is complicated. The fact that he's joining the team midway through the week is complicated. I think to what I brought up there, South Carolina will keep this thing close. I don't think they lose by more than 10 points. I think that would be ridiculous to assume that they're going to get blown out, even though they're on the road. But for a lot of the things that you talked about here, I don't think that Missouri has gotten enough respect for how good they've been this year.
I agree.
They are in a lot of the stuff that I always bring up in these segments. They have been in the top 15 in most important categories on both sides of the ball. 14th in EPA per rush, 14th in EPA per dropback. Their offensive line has been phenomenal. Caden Green's been great. Tollison's been great. And then Keegan Trost has been really underrated for them. They're 14th in havoc rate allowed. And then on defense, 11th in EPA per dropback, and they're 19th in havoc rate. Because of Damon Wilson and because of Zion Young, they have been an incredibly dynamic and talented pass rush duo that is turning into quietly maybe the best in the SEC that hasn't been hyped up or talked about enough.
Well, sorry.
Go ahead. Go. What do you got?
No. Go ahead. Finish.
My last point with this that I was just going to round out, I think that they've got this really awesome trio that they've built.
Oh, okay. My point.
You've got Coleman, you've got Prabula, and you've got Hardy. We talked about Hardy in the offseason and why we were really excited about him. And we actually got to see now already how he stacks up against some group of five some power four opponents when they went up against Kansas. And he has smoked the group of five teams that they played. That dude.
Well, Roberts did too.
Shit. Well, right.
I mean, they have a 1-2 punch of speed and power, which is like, okay, let's go to this point. Joe, I don't think Bo Prabula is getting talked about enough.
Oh, wait, by the way, it's Pribula, apparently. That's what some people have commented. I apologize if we're still getting it wrong, but I think it's Pribula.
Until I see otherwise or hear pronounced otherwise, Prabula.
Wait, I'm gonna text the Missouri radio guy, actually. I'm gonna figure this out.
Okay. Regardless of that, I'm calling him Prabula until you figure it out. He's gone off. I mean, Joe, everybody questioned if he could sit in the pocket and throw the football. I mean, that question is going to get answered again this week. I think the wrong quarterback, and I get Sellers being hurt's a big deal. Because of the Sellers injury, no one's talking about Bo. They're just not. And the three-headed monster that they have in a rushing attack is just – golly, they present a lot of problems, man. They will go right at you. They'll hit you with speed. I mean, Hardy had, 250 rushing yards last week? I mean, it's dumb what they can do. Want to see a little bit more from their wide receiver play. I got to be real with you. But I think that as they continue with Bo and company, that will continue to get better too. They're a really good team.
I think that that's the best point that you bring up there with Bo, is that he has been so much better than anyone thought he was going to be. I think everybody thought he was going to be Riley Leonard and he was just going to show up and he'd have a couple of nice throws, but he was going to be this real dynamic pocket extender, a player who was going to be important for the run game. His impact as a passer has been tremendous. And I don't know if there ever becomes a ceiling. I don't know if that pops up as he starts to play in the SEC. I haven't seen a reason to believe that. I have only seen better and better play from him. The one thing about him, though, that's kind of odd, I found this out. He has a 25.9 pressure to sack ratio, which is pretty below average. So that means whenever he gets pressured, he ends up getting taken down. He's not one of these guys that ends up escaping pressure statistically. That, to me, is an important factor for South Carolina's side, where you have to get home. Dylan Stewart has to get home, and you have to be able to get in his face, because if you do, it could end up being a productive sack day. The problem is that this offensive line for Missouri has been so good, and it's been so much improved since last year, that I don't know if it's going to be easy to get to him.
No, it's not. But can Stewart go off? It will be a very interesting question. I would stay away from the line on FanDuel if you're asking me. However, I would 9.5's a lot, because sellers going off would worry me. So I'm going to stay away from the line. From the points, I would go line. I would take Missouri in this game to win. All right. Joe, before we wrap up here, let's get to our game picks. Week 4 in college football, presented by our good friends over at FanDuel. Now, standings, I am 7-11. Joe is 6-12, but we're picking against the spread against the toughest games in the weekend. But let's start off with the first one. Michigan, 2.5-point favorite versus Nebraska. Both of us going with the Cornhuskers here.
I'm going with the fact, and I'm actually taking Nebraska money line. I really think that this Nebraska team has a home field advantage going up against a freshman quarterback. This is a tough setting to play, and this is one of the first times I think that they'll get to really flex their muscles as being a tough home setting, because the team actually kind of matches that environment for once. And as I talked about, I think Raiola has been awesome, and I think that this is the setting where he gets to prove, hey, I am one of the best quarterbacks in the country. You guys keep doubting me. Up against this defense, I'm going to play really well, and I'm going to put on a bunch of highlights, and you're going to be talking about me after this game. So I'm going with Nebraska. I'm taking a money line. But for the sake of this exercise, I'm taking them 2.5, so in case they lose by a point.
Yes. So, again, we are picking the toughest games of the week, and we're not doing money lines. We're going against the spread. We have to pick it. The only thing that worries me here for Nebraska is Sharon Moore's not there, and I think from an offensive perspective, hear me out, is a plus. They let Bryce Underwood be Bryce Underwood last week, and they took the governor off. They let him roll. Joe, I look at that Cincinnati game and say, all right, I'm just going to let it be. However, if you let Bryce Underwood start running the football, you couldn't keep contained on Sornsby. Can you keep contained on a kid who's a better athlete that can actually throw the football? Because Sornsby cannot. I would take Michigan if this game were somewhere else. I'm just going to give it to Nebraska. I don't know. I got to be real with you. I'd flip a coin. I don't know who to pick. I really don't, because I could see Michigan and Bryce Underwood going in there and them not being able to keep contained and get some things moving. I'm going to go Nebraska because of the home environment. But, man, I got to be real with you. I don't like this. I'm staying away from it this week.
That's your loss.
Nah.
I'm going to make some money off of this. You watch.
Okay, we'll see. You said that about – who would you say – who were you – oh, no, you did win on Auburn. Yeah, you did. You were –
yeah, dude, that was the one that I was pushing, man.
Yeah. Speaking of Auburn, Oklahoma -6.5 versus Auburn. I'm going with the Sooners, Joe. You're going with Auburn. Let me state this for just a second before we get rolling. Hold on.
Okay.
If you run a podcast and you want to come in these comments, say it to our face. That's all I got to say, but continue.
Well, the funniest thing, by the way, the person you're referencing has been arguing with me and not you. they think that I am you in the comments. They think I don't know why I'm the one who does most of the commenting for anyone who doesn't know.
How do you watch the games and say that Mateer wasn't running for his life? There's no way that what does a backside guard do against a 3-tech on outside zone? If you can come in here and answer me that question, then I will be quiet. But until you start doing that, and by the way, went on your show and told you were going 6-6. Can you tell me your record? Don't be coming up in our comments talking shit. Sorry, continue. But I'm not going to put up.
I think there's a cordial. This is very specific to other podcasts and shows. There's a very cordial way to go about disagreeing, and I have text conversations with people all the time who disagree with me, and it's fun to have the debate.
Me and you disagree. Me and you disagree all the time.
We love disagreeing, but like, don't be an ass about it. To get back to this though, I'm taking Auburn money line. I think that Auburn's going to win this game, as I said in the segment. At the very least, a 6.5-point spread's enough for them to cover. I know that there's context for how their sack production has come against bad teams. I know that Baylor put up some big numbers against that Auburn defense.
Your rushing protection for Oklahoma's come against bad teams.
Right. I think that we have to, and I will always stand by this, my bets that have hit consistently are the ones that I have leaned to teams that have advantages along the offensive and defensive line. Auburn's defensive line is better than, by the Oklahoma fans didn't understand when I said this at the time. What I meant, they think that when I said that Auburn has the better defensive line, that meant Auburn's defensive line is better than Oklahoma's. I meant that Auburn's defensive line is a lot better than Oklahoma's offensive line. It is a mess. They have been shuffling already who is playing where. The other part about this, I also think that Auburn's offensive line is tremendously underrated. They've got a challenge this week, but they are a quality offensive line, and they're going to be able to go toe-to-toe with them. They're a lot better than Michigan's. They're going to be able to protect Jackson Arnold better. So I'm going with Auburn. I have to go with the victory in the trenches.
I got to see Jackson Arnold go in there and beat them. I don't. For what it's worth, I still think Oklahoma has a lot of issues along their offensive line. I got to see Jackson Arnold go in there. Now, that same podcast in the media literally started asking media if they can boo Jackson Arnold when he gets there. That's the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life. Regardless of that, I do think Auburn's going to be able to keep this one close. I don't think they're as inept as what Michigan was offensively. I got to see Jackson Arnold go in there and do it. I do, Joe. I don't think they can throw the football, and I don't think
that is my fear is that if Arnold struggles as a passer and
they got a lot of people wide open,
they've hidden him as a passer, so we don't really know. I'm a little worried. I don't think it's like a guaranteed lock win, but I think that if Oklahoma wins, it's gonna be because Arnold has a tough time throwing the ball.
Agreed. All right, Miami versus Florida. Miami minus 7.5. We're both going with the Canes.
Dude, I'm sorry to do this to Florida, man, but I don't think they've got the energy at the current moment. Again, most balanced team in college football.
Officially out, by the way.
Say it again.
Caleb Banks officially out, by the way.
Yeah, dude. If they're without Caleb Banks, I am not hesitating to take Miami at home. Give it to me.
Jabbar Jaluk also suspended for 3 games after slapping a player at on LSU's team. Joe, this thing for Florida's unraveling at the seams.
Yeah.
Not only do I think Miami's going to win and cover, I hate to say this, but I think blood's in the water. I do think that LSU kind of put the nail in the coffin, and Miami's coming to hit the nail home. I am very – here's the crazy part about this, though. I think the line is 7.5 because, Joe, they still got a lot of really good talent. They do. And they got a lot of NFL players on their team. They do. I have no faith in Florida because, Joe, they keep making mistakes over and over again. So Joe, this is probably my best bet of the weekend. I would take Miami and the points. If you can buy a point and make it 6.5 just to be safe, but I think they're going to cover.
No, I don't. I agree with everything you just said there. Absolutely agree.
Indiana versus Illinois. We're split here as well. I'm going with the Fighting Illini. You going with Kurt Cignetti's Hoosiers.
Yeah, I think that it's an advantage for Indiana being at home. I still really like this Illinois team, but I have a little bit of carefulness with the fact that Indiana is a little bit more explosive than Illinois. And I think that with a margin like this that's less than a touchdown, that there's an opportunity. This is one of the games that I feel the least confident about. But I think that if there's a chance to get a couple of big plays late, they end up winning by 7 and the game closes out that way. For anyone who thinks that there's no Indiana fans and they don't exist, shout out to 2 of my friends, by the way, that were texting me and asking for me to give them a shout out. Shout out to RJ and Peter, who both went to Indiana. One of them played baseball at Indiana. They have been listening to all. No. He just recently finished playing there. He's in the Yankees farm system, actually, I think still. But still, the shout out to those guys. If for anyone,
I love this kid now. If he's on the Yankees in the Yankees farm system, I'm sorry, I'm picking against your team. Brett Bielema texted me before the show and said that he's going to go ahead and unfollow.
Oh, fuck off!
And he followed you on Twitter, and you were a big Illini fan, and he even quote tweets you. He loves him some Joe. But Brett did text me and say, Joe is disappointing me, Blake. And I'm like, I know. You were disappointing Bielema. And I will never turn on him. Give me Illini, give me the points. We're going up in Indiana and waxing that ass. Let's go fight Illini.
I'm gonna be pissed if my margin between you increases just because of that logic.
I gotta see Indiana. I got to see them against somebody. Again, Old Dominion. Yeah. Is this the South Carolina thing? I just think, look, I don't know what I don't know in Indiana yet, and they maybe are a very good team, and Fernando Mendoza proves that to us. All right, last one here, Joe. Utah versus Texas Tech. We're going with the Red Raiders.
I got to be honest, this one too, I don't feel great about it.
This is the one that I went back and forth on the most.
If anyone's wondering why our records are so bad, it's because it is really, we're not picking the games that we like the most. You don't have to bet on every single game, by the way. You don't need to go bet on every single game.
Yeah, don't go to FanDuel and bet these.
Yeah, if you don't love these games. Right. If I had to give a pick, though, I like the idea of Texas Tech sneaking up on them and losing by a point or pulling out the upset and winning by a couple of points, something like that. But outside of that, Utah's offensive line might end up really carrying them this game. So that's why I'm a little iffy and I don't have an aggressive push. I am taking Texas Tech, though, for that possibility that one big splash play gets them back into it.
So I got one thing of what sold me on Texas Tech winning the game. Fearless champions ever be. Stand on heights of victory. That is in the alma mater song for our good friends over at Texas Tech. I just believe that this team is more talented when it's all said and done. I think that they have more talent on offense. I think that they're highly explosive. I think that Terrence Carter is a difference maker. I think Morton and company are going to be able to find a way late to get this done. I think that they can run the football a little bit better than what people are giving them credit for. I think that defense has been locked down in certain situations. I'm just leaning on the talent. I do think that Texas Tech is more talented than them in certain spots, and I'm going to lean on that talent for them to get the win.
I think it's good logic. I can't argue with that. I can't argue with that at all.
12 in my power rankings. I'm a hypocrite.
Before we get out of here, Elks pointed out we missed one of his super chats the other day. So I just want to, by the way, let's use this as an opportunity to promo, though. The way that we knew that we missed Elks' super chat is that we have the Ruffino and Joe Show Discord. It's $4.99 a month to join and become a member of the channel, and you get access. It's growing. We've been adding a couple people every single day. I want to build a nice, fun community so on Saturdays we can sit and talk about all the games. But
we're literally just sitting there talking. Me and Joe sit there and watch and talk football all day with you.
Shooting the shit. From Elks, though, his super chat that we missed. Fun stat. Also, I don't think he's in here. I think he left. Fun stat on A&M, 4 touchdown drives in the first half. Notre Dame forced them into third down twice. Also, Notre Dame has given up a touchdown drives of 70+ 7 times in 2 games.
Jeez.
That defense is bad.
In 2 weeks.
It's bad, man.
But your schedule's not tough enough to where you can't fix some things during some of these weeks, with all due respect. You got to win out if you're Notre Dame to make a playoff. And you got to hope some chaos happens.
And I don't even know if that's enough.
Here's the thing, man. Joe, let me ask, are you taking USC, by the way, over Notre Dame? Are you there yet?
Dude, I have a huge fear that USC wide receiver room is going to.
I do too.
It's far enough away that I think that there can be some fixes. Apparently, there's been a lot of moves and a lot of more accountability over the past couple of days in trying to identify what the problems have been. But I don't know.
Fire Chris Ash, and you said the problems would be gone.
Oh yeah, I still stand by that. I don't think he should be the defensive coordinator.
It's been 2 games. Give him a minute. Give him a minute. All right. We'll see y'all soon. Peace.